My name is Karl Petzke. I came here in April of 1990 and retired in the summer of 1995.
I'm Margaret Petzke. I was summer camp registrar. That job entailed putting all the campers in the right cabins and trying not to put too many from one church together so they would get to know each other. The first experience we had in camping was Perkins. Somebody from, I think he was from Alaska, a pastor, asked if Karl would like to spend the summer in Idaho at a camp. And we were in Winfield, Kansas. And I looked at Karl and I said, I think Idaho's west. But I wasn't really sure exactly where Idaho was.
My first call to the parish was at Pocatello, Idaho, to serve as pastor there, or serve as vicarage there. And later on then, after serving my vicarage there, I was called as associate pastor. Served there for 3 years before, out of the blue, getting a telephone call from Camp Omega in Minnesota. I said, no way, Lord. But that isn't the way it ended up. And I had many glorious years in camping ministry after that. And then finally, our good friend Bob Newcomb called me on the phone one time. Hey, Karl, will you be interested in coming our way at all to Lutherhaven? And I said, nah, Bob, come on. I'm not interested, but that isn't the way it worked out. So here I am. When I first came on the scene here, practically every building was leaking. The roofs were leaking. And we had no money at all at that time. And it was very difficult for us to get the job done, very frankly. But it seemed that all the loyal supporters of Lutherhaven, they just came out of the woodwork and filled the bill, and we were able to ultimately get all the buildings taken care of.
We were in the 3rd floor of Trinity Lutheran Church when we first came. I remember walking up the steps at Trinity Lutheran Church, and the higher we got, the hotter it got. The computer that Becky was using was like this size. The conditions up there were not the best, but it was a wonderful place to work. At the beginning, it was not computerized, and it was all written down on paper, and it was a lot of fun. Once the computers came in, it was a lot easier. Sometimes I ended up having kids in 2 different cabins, maybe more kids than beds, and we had laughs over that, but in the end, it all seemed to work out, even though the person that was here on site during the registration process had to, I'm sure I caused that person a lot of headaches.
I came into a situation where I was the only Missouri Synod person that had been executive director or camp director of Lutherhaven. But the people in the Northwest were grand. They were marvelous. And they got behind the whole effort. We started to make progress, and we broke ground on the Welcoming Center in 1993, I believe it was. And that building was the stimulus for us to really grow. That was really the highlight of the master plan. to get things going here, that in order for this camp to grow and to become more beneficial to all the people in the inland Northwest, something that would be welcoming to the people coming on site, like a welcoming center, it was badly needed. And at the same time, when the welcoming center was being built, we also built the maintenance center, which was significant because we only had a small building for all the maintenance that was being done on camp. I can recall going down to someplace between here and Moscow, looking at railroad ties even for the buildings, but we ended up with a large warehouse building down in Moscow that we tore down. And I was on the scaffolding about 20 feet up in the air, taking down the, which ultimately became the siding for our maintenance building. So it was quite an experience.
Well, we got the newspaper at home, and in the process of reading it, there was an article about a camp that was for sale at Shoshone, and I wasn't even sure exactly where that was or anything about it, except that it was available. And I said to Karl, you know, I bet Bob would like to see that. So I cut it out, and I brought it to camp, and I laid it on his desk, and I didn't give it another thought. I just laid it on his desk and walked out. And the next day, he and Karl went up to see the place. And look at it now.
Well, hopefully the camp will always have Christ at the center of everything. That's the most important thing. And I believe we tried to keep that always at the top of our requirements, the priorities of the camp. And no matter what we did, whether we were at a campfire at night or on the challenge course or wherever we were, the Lord Jesus Christ has to be the main priority of what we're all about.
I remember when we first moved here, we didn't have a place to stay. So from, I think, only a couple days, we stayed in Coyote Cabin. And it happened to be during Castaway Fair, which of course we didn't really know what Castaway Fair was. And so we got thrown into Castaway Fair, which was a fantastic experience. Of course, that was all due to Bob and Marlis. But just being here so new to camp and on site and seeing, I don't know, thousands of people here, and just to see what Castaway Fair was all about, I mean, it really gave us a look at the possibilities that this camp had, and it was exciting times for us.